All right, everyone. Welcome in to the very first Davis Mattek Endgame Syndicate stream. You guys might be wondering, you very realistically might be wondering, there are all these great DFS players, all these great brain bros, all these great simulator creators. What is Davis Mattek doing on the Endgame Syndicate? And Brian, it's a fair question. But in taking all of my meetings in the last couple weeks, something I've realized is that people that are really, really good at fantasy sports, people that are really, really good at math, they don't necessarily make the best hosts for shows. So that is exactly what Davis Mattek is doing in partnership with the Endgame Syndicate. So we're going to draft a Best Ball Mania team, and we're also going to entertain the people.
I realized about 2 minutes into hosting our first live stream that I'm like, I don't want to be the host. I appreciated Overzet so much more. Just having to host these YouTube videos is pretty annoying. It's worse than actually. I don't know if you've done a ton of like no live, no audience, not live at all, just you and the camera videos. Those are like the first ones I did on YouTube, and those are really awkward. But adding the like live element makes it even worse.
That is true. So I have done, a fair number of just me talking to the camera videos, but not very long ones, right? Very, very, very short. Someone is saying that we have an echo. I'm going to guess that's on your end, or due to just the way that we have this set up.
Do you have the YouTube open?
I do not have the YouTube open. Okay. Do you have the YouTube open?
Sometimes I turn my volume down, because listening to you, the mic might pick it up, but it's usually never a problem.
Never mind. We got a comment from the chat that was on there, and I thought we were good. Now, guys, you're gonna have to be semi-patient with me over the next week or so as I figure out all of this tech stuff. I think the transition is going to be pretty seamless. I think I'll probably be pretty good at all of this, but it definitely is going to take. It's going to take a little while, and we're going to figure it out. Got to find my stream voice. 95% of the content that I've done has been pre-recorded. We do podcasts. If someone says something insane and they need to have it edited out later, they can have it edited out. So we'll see on that end. Although I guess I've done about 1 million Swolecasts over the years, and those are live shows, but I don't have to host those.
Take cast counts too. That's basically live. I mean, you don't go and edit those. So you did
but I could theoretically. I could.
Yeah, I mean, you like the intro, you edit or whatever. But podcast appearances, you've done a shit ton. I bet people are really more surprised that you don't know how to use StreamYard than
anything
else here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've spent pretty much the entirety of the last week getting all this stuff set up, getting the graphics done, getting the overlays done, doing all the admin stuff. So the actual ball knowing has been relatively low, but you and I have never drafted a team together before, ever. So this is going to be a first.
We haven't. Yeah, I guess them. I think maybe we haven't.
Maybe we did one on Lowell's with Pete or something, but it's never been.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe we did one.
Yeah, we might have done one, but Pete would have been the intermediary, and I mean, look, you are responsible for my transformation as a player. People are outraged by my exposures this year. I tweeted a list on Saturday. I was about to go do a float with my dog and my wife and some of her siblings, and I just was like, I gotta do some engagement farming. I gotta do some engagement farming before I go. So I tweeted out the list of guys that I have 0 of, and it is like my most popular tweet in months. People are offended by the concept of just drafting 0% of guys.
I saw that. I saw some of the comments there. I mean, it wasn't me who did it, really. I mean, it's the numbers that you got scared of, right? That your ADP standard deviation was so low compared to everyone else. That's what did it. Did you? No, you probably didn't. Who did I do? I did Neil Orfield's show, and we were going over the standard deviation of some of the guys in the draft we did. And then I went back and looked at the 150ers. And a lot of those guys were 2-3 times almost your ADP, standard deviation ADP.
Yeah.
I don't know who's right, but I think just dodging somebody, I don't know if that would increase your. It's definitely, player takes wise. Like it's saying this guy's got to take.
Well,
You get 2 here.
particularly the higher up the board they are, the more your risk or your ability to profit goes higher. Because okay, you assume an 8.3% draft rate for a player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that guy in the second round is like the stone worst pick, or the guy in the fourth round is the stone worst pick, you have like kind of eliminated someone in your pool. And that, so if you move your advance rate in a given pool, but if you increase it by 8.3%, I guess you're by 1/11 of 8.3% across a bunch of teams, that is going to significantly impact your advance rate and impact your EV.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm more or less just talking about nittiness, which it's basically because the standard deviation, like if you take someone 15 picks early, like that should increase your standard deviation too. Like if someone drops to you, the problem is that doesn't really happen. Like people, once someone drops, someone's going to gobble them up. Like it seems like that to me on most underdog drafts. Do you think that's true? Like
you get it with quarterbacks fairly often. You'll see the two guys I really notice it with are CJ Stroud, Tua, and Brock Purdy to some extent, where if it just falls in such a way that the Stroud draft, maybe the Nico Collins drafter, the Tank Dell drafter, and the Diggs drafter all get an elite quarterback somehow else. They, Mahomes, Josh, Lamar, whoever. So then the Stroud guys, Stroud can fall to round 8. Or if the Reek guy also gets Waddle, I mean, you can just push Tua, because Tua is not going to. If I had to pick one quarterback who is not going to be the Best Ball Mania 5 winning quarterback naked, it would probably be Tua. Like Tua is not getting 31 underdog points without bringing one of those two guys along. It would be insane for that to happen.
Right. No, I agree with all that. I'm just saying, generally speaking,
Sure.
once there's value like sitting there, it's 10, 15, 20. Someone usually will take it and then go, "Oh, I'm such a value hound," like
right.
There's no. It's pretty rare that it goes unless there's like an injury or some concerns of some kind where guys will go pretty far past. My point being, like if you have a high standard deviation in your ADP, you're scrolling down a lot. Usually, like
yes,
probably
it's not coming. It's not coming from being the greatest value hound the game has ever
exactly.
seen. Yeah.
It just can't. There's no way you could do draft after draft where you're just getting guys 10, 15 spots early every time. It'd be nice if you could. I mean, as long as the ADP was fairly sharp, but they're basically scrolling down. So like just Xing out guys in your pool, I mean, it kind of like forces you to scroll down a little bit because you have less players to pick from. So that will increase it, I suppose, a little bit, but mainly these guys are scrolling down and they're scrolling down late.
I've been doing more of that, trying to take guys that are like, particularly at running back, like guys who are just not getting drafted all the time. Like Audric Estime for the Broncos is like, I think the 4th Broncos running back getting drafted. And I take him like a good clip. I'm taking a lot of Greg Dortch. I'm taking a lot of Rondale Moore, guys who are like not even close to getting drafted. Even I would guess those guys like 50, 60% of the time, but even more so where I've realized the real power of that is in like rounds 14 through 18, where unless you're reaching, you're just not going to get certain combinations. Like, for example, you could do Javon Baker, Drake May, Troy Franklin, Bo Nix as your final 4 players or something like that. And by ADP, that is uncommon. Like by ADP, that just doesn't happen naturally. You've got to move tile pieces around to do that.
Right. If anyone's watching this on my YouTube, you can do us a favor, go over to the new Endgame YouTube channel and sub there, because I'm not going to be what's this called, cross streaming, multi streaming to different channels for much longer. We're going to try to host all the Endgame stuff on one place. Do you have the link? Actually, I got the link right here. I just sent it to you. You're
gonna learn today. So this is controversial here. This is one of the first controversial spots. I have my rankings uploaded on Underdog, and well, I was about to take Devin A-Chain, who I have ranked over Saquon Barkley. What I'm gonna do now is take DJ Moore, which is again controversial, not the way that ADP goes, but I'm sticking to the ranks. I'm not being a servant to the average draft position, and I like that. I like that combination as well a good bit.
Let me ask you a question then about ADP, like the max stretch. We're putting a default on the draft caddy for like the suggestion, part of it. What do you think the default is? This us? You can pick here, and then I'll ask you.
And that's another reason why I like DJ Moore there is I'm going to get my pick of one of the wide receivers that I like coming back, but Moore is the one that I place the emphasis on. So we're going to get Devonta Smith there.
Yeah. I mean, I love this Lamb Moore start. One, because you can get Caleb. I'm the biggest Bears fan of all time. You know this, Davis.
Yeah, I heard you were going to get the Caleb Williams, the limited edition jersey. I heard. Yeah.
No. Jersey wearing, Davis, is like dating, right? Like half your age plus 7. Did they even have that when you were growing up? Half your age plus 7?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that still exists.
It's twice your age minus 7. That's the cutoff for jersey wearing. They have to be older than that. So for you, a guy has to be like 54 or something or older for you to be able to wear his jersey.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a little creepy.
So you're saying you can only wear throwback jerseys effectively,
right? Yeah, retired Hall of Famers, stuff like that, like Dick Butkus. Yeah.
I don't know. I just really don't agree with this. I can't. This is not a societal rule that I can jive with at all.
This is why this country's falling apart, David. I'm telling you, it's all based on the jerseys. But the ADP max.
Yes.
So what would you set like the max reach it can suggest?
I mean, I would scale it by round. I think by like round 10, I would just take it away. I would just say you're like everyone has made this point. This is not a new point at all. But once you kind of get past the top 100 players, you're talking about players that would go for $1, $2, $3, $4 in an auction. If we were doing an auction draft, what's the difference between, like, theoretically in a single quarterback league, what's the difference between Jared Goff and Bo Nix in fantasy football auction dollars? Like, completely negligible. Like, you could, like, whoever projects for more points in week 1 maybe would go for an extra $1 or whatever. So before that, I would set a limiter, 15 something like that, like where you don't want to be picking, like, so where I just took, I almost took Kyren Williams there. I do really like him, and that sets you up good. But like, you could make an argument that maybe you could take Isaiah Pacheco there. So I guess that's about, was that about 18 picks or something? I don't know. I mean, even that would make me uncomfortable, jumping 18 spots ahead of ADP in the 3rd round.
That's fun, because I was going to say default should be 15.
Yeah, 15 I think is about right.
And then you could change it if you want it higher or lower, go change it. But like you said, like in round 9 or 10, like it shouldn't matter. Maybe that's true, but like from like users, like if you are in round 9, you get someone 212 because you have the correlations, 212,
sure,
you're going to be pissed off.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, yeah, it probably should be scaled slightly though. Like to your point, like later on, like what's 30 or 40 spots when you're talking the guys in the 190s and stuff.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. But then they can always adjust it themselves. I'm just saying.
This guy drafting from 3, I've done this exact team multiple times where you take the elite wide receiver in round 1, and then you take A-Chain and Kyren in 2 and 3. I mean, I would not be surprised if that is the secret formula this year, that we look back and we go, wow, you got the guy who is highest ceiling at the wide receiver position weekly basis, and you get this crazy ceiling at running back who's his teammate, and you get this guy Kyron who's like really underpriced because of Blake Corum. Like Blake Corum is sitting there, and all of a sudden we get this 1-2 turn guy as a third round pick, but it leaves you so far behind the 8 ball at wide receiver that you have to take like 9 a lot of the time. So by rank and ADP, I have Lamar here, but I am pretty behind. This might be a good spot. Andrews is there. I'm going to take Lamar, and we might be set up to do we might be doing a true 0 RB team here on the stream, which I don't do. I do not do a ton of these.
Looks like you're following ADP pretty closely, but I don't think it matters that much this early.
I like Peter. Peter did this stream the other day, or maybe this was a short-term video where he effectively just auto drafted the first 5 rounds and then built the team off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the market is most likely to be correct the higher up the board you go. I think that's almost certainly true, because these are the players that we have the most information on, and a great amount of people are all feeling certain about them. Whereas the further you get down the board, if we were able to plot out like ADP, or what would the mathematical term for this be, where the delta between their ADP and where they get drafted, and you could see that. So like sometimes Braylon Allen goes in the 14th round, sometimes he goes undrafted. Like the market is less confident the further down the board you go.
Sure. Yeah. Confidence interval or something like that.
Confidence interval. Yeah, that would be it.
I think there's 2 you mentioned. I wanted to go back. You mentioned you were talking about one of the teams and how it's a good build, but you're kind of screwed at wide receiver. And when you use like the draft capital calculator, this is, what I use. You guys probably don't need to use it because you play so much.
Right.
But I'm trying to get into that bucket 1 of wide receivers. And if you aren't drafting them early, if you're not basically pissing yellow, it's pretty tough to get up into that 1 slot. Although there's a lot more wide receivers this year.
You have to go 2, 5, 9, 2 to get to
that won't get you. That won't get you there, because the draft capital is like exponential. So like the later you get, you're only getting like 1, 2, or 3 points of draft capital with these late wide receivers. You're never going to get into that bucket 1. But like this concept made me kind of think about what you were just talking about, the early drafting.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get into that top. I'm not saying you want to, but if you wanted to get in that top, like, 5% of the 150 maxers who have a wide range, whose standard deviation of ADP is really high, like 15 or higher, you probably still need to, even in the early rounds, drop down a little bit occasionally and like get your guy or whatever the fuck they're doing. I don't think it adds up,
So I do a couple things like that might end up influencing my 150 max ranking in the end. I take Justin Jefferson ahead of Chase, ahead of St. Brown, ahead of Breeze, ahead of Bijan every time, and sometimes over Tyreek. Sometimes I will I had been taking him ahead of Tyreek 100% of the time until like the last week or so, because I had a come to God moment where I was like, you really don't want to not have any Tyreek Hill. You're not going into the year without any him. But if I end up with 4% Chase and like 2% St. Brown, to me, that's totally fine. I take Debo very high. I don't take any Brandon Ayuk, and I take A-Chain very high as well. So I'm going to have like very light Mike Evans, very light DK Metcalf, almost no Stephon Diggs, almost like, or very little Neighbors compared to the field. Like I'll have some stuff like that, but I don't know. Does your ADP distribution tool take into account that taking someone 5th overall who goes 6th overall on average is an even larger stance than taking someone who goes 120th overall, 100th overall?
No, it's not proportional. Yeah. So yeah, if you take someone fifth, sixth, like that example, it would just be one differential. If you took someone 200th, a 100, yeah, it would be a huge. It would adjust.
Yeah, it should be proportional because I don't want to be when you do your numbers at the end of the year, I don't want to be unfairly shamed. I don't
No,
want that to
I
happen.
mean it does have it's the first whatever rounds too. So that kind of I could probably break it down even less. So
Yeah.
right now it's just the two before pick 167 and after pick 167. So it kind of gets there. But you could also do like before pick like 60 or something and then
So
have three buckets.
these picks we're about to make right now are just why this is so easy. Like why it is you can do these zero running backs hearts. Like I just got Kenneth Walker, who like if the Seahawks are good on offense this year, could like lead the NFL in carries. Like could run for like 1,400 yards pretty easily with the second to last pick in the sixth round. I mean, it's really it's like actually kind of insane that you're able to do this stuff. This is the most conducive environment to wide receiver or to getting cheap running back points that's ever existed.
Do this is, I couldn't, no, you probably have it memorized. I would like be worried about like, what are my exposures on Montgomery and Aaron Jones and whoever's right, Stevenson. And I wouldn't want like too much of one of these guys.
Well, I get it. You get a pretty even distribution of it, even if you strictly draft off your ranks, because other people will not share your preferences. Like some people will have Montgomery ranked really high. So like my running back exposures are all in that pocket. It's like Jalen Warren, Trey Benson, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre, and they're all like 12 to 15% of like all those guys that go, other than Jalen Warren, who I have at like 40%. But because the as long as you are drafting as long as you were drafting with people who aren't drafting off your exact rankings, you're not going to be overweight too much on any of those guys.
Is that ADP? Is that a Davis man? I mean, my rank, is that a Davis Manic special?
Yes, that is patreon.com/Davis Mattek, which is not, it
Wow.
is actually live right now. I haven't turned all the settings on and started tweeting stuff out, but all that's there. If you want these rankings, you can go and get them right now.
Wow. Here, we gotta link it here. I got your link here.
Yeah. So this is brand new. What I ended up deciding to do is the Patreon level for $5 a month, $50 a year, exists the same way it did. I'm actually going to grandfather in people who already subscribed there. I'm going to grant them access, and then there is a new tier on the same page that's all the fantasy football stuff. Podcasts, articles, rankings, all the stuff that you need to be a degenerate. But yeah, that's I did the underdog announcement today, and then I'm gonna do the Patreon stuff tomorrow.
I was thinking about doing a video on creating your own ADP from like a way I would do it. I don't know how you do it, but I'm assuming there's a lot of no ball.
How I do the rankings.
Yeah.
So what I do is I have a collated set of rankings that are all the ETR, legendary upside, for like all the rankings collated together with ADP, and then I use there are Mike Clay's projections and Mike Clay's rankings, which are based off the projections, and I kind of compare them. And then there's also there. I mean, there's ball knowing. You'll see in this now. The interesting thing about creating rankings, you'll see this right here. I mean, one, I really better hope I get Tyler Lockett. I mean, I really
See,
no one take Tyler Lockett.
Don't you feel like Lamar Jackson's a mistake now?
No, I don't.
You get Dak Prescott right here, and then Caleb later on.
That's totally. So I think one. I mean, I still might take Dak actually. I probably won't. Although I don't think that's bad. I really actually don't. Maybe that's controversial. But the reason why I don't think it's bad is because Lamar could very realistically be like the ultimate super boost player of the year. So now this is a crazy positional thing where my rankings don't align, but I do need a wide receiver, and I already have the tight end. Bowers is who I would normally take. It's like Wicks here. This is very early for Wicks. I think Shaheed probably makes sense here because it gives me a good late quarterback. So I am going to go off ADP, and that's a hard thing to do because I think my ranking is correct to have Wicks ahead of Shaheed, but because I need to set up the backdoor quarterback, and I don't really need exactly the Wicks profile here for this, but it's also good feedback to take back into the rankings.
Just looking at players drafted right now, your ADP is like your standard deviation of ADP is like 3. It's like really nitty.
I mean, my rankings are going to be very close to ADP, I would imagine. Like not super close. Like we can sit here and look. So Dak would have been my highest guy. I probably need to move Dak down a little bit closer. I would have taken Jaden Daniels on this team had I not taken Lamar. So maybe you're right. Maybe Lamar is the mistake.
What was I going to ask? Oh, yeah. So like making ADP projections. I was thinking doing a video on like starting an ADP projection process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how would I do it? I'm obviously not going to go in and go, oh, I know that, Kenneth Walker should be 8 spots higher than everyone else thinks, and I'm going to move him up. Like that's not how I do things. Right. So
right.
I was thinking a good way to do it with data that's already out there is the Battle Royale data. And I think you could get a lot of info based on how people drafted players last year.
Okay.
And like as kind of like a prior, like a prior.
But do you think the drafting behavior is the same?
I just think no, I don't think it's the same. That is a problem with Battle Royale data in general is there's only, 6 rounds or something, whatever it is. It's not
6 rounds. Yeah.
There's not the ADP final ranks are like, they're not very accurate, and they cap them at like 36 or something instead of like trying to figure, like when someone doesn't get drafted, they should adjust those. It's like,
and I wonder, I've not done a ton of Battle Royale. I will be doing more Battle Royale, I think, this year. But I wonder if because there's not the insane wide receiver thirst in Battle Royale, because I mean there's some wide receiver thirst because people would prefer to have wide receivers in their flex, but it's definitely much different. And I wonder how much that would skew the margins.
Well, you're thinking of measuring like draft versus draft. That's not what I was thinking of measuring.
Oh, okay. What are you saying?
More or less like the temperature, kind of like of guys and when they were getting picked, how they do at the end of the year, how were they compared to the projections or something like that. And you could just see, like, I don't know, I don't even know what it would tell me. I'm just thinking of, ways to like that I would start out and see if you could find any info and any trends, sort of, so to speak, on starting to create your own ownership. So like, even if you could, it's just a start because guys are on different teams this year. There's a whole new rookie class. Coaches changed.
Oh, all right. Gary Gugliano takes Chase Brown right ahead of us. Just sticking it. Just knowing. I guess he knows the room. Oh my God. And Corum goes. But that's fine. We are going to take Rico Dowdle here. Absolutely no sweat. Feel good about that. I think that's one of my favorite bets actually is Dowdle in the Cowboys backfield. And we are getting, look, that really helped my standard deviation there.
Could we have gotten Caleb Williams in any of these reasonably?
Caleb went 110, so he went right at ADP. So the answer is yes. We definitely.
So you could have went skip Jackson and then went Prescott, Caleb.
So the 2v2, yeah. I mean that team is that team's probably better. Yeah. Like let's just be real.
Well, as soon as you take CeeDee Lamb and DJ Moore, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going late and trying to get Dak and Caleb, because even if you miss, you could just get Caleb or just get Dak, and then
what do you think though about just how popular those combinations are going to be? That is one thing. I mean, obviously you want that combination in if it's you want that combination in the week 17 because the ceiling is so high and because the ceilings are so correlated. You know, Caleb Williams is not having 30 points without bringing DJ Moore along. But let's say Caleb Williams and DJ Moore both really go off in week 16 and they have good seasons. You know, they're positive advance rate players. You could really be looking at, you know, basically you show up in the finals and was there 600 something teams? I can't remember off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And there are 150 teams that have Caleb Williams and DJ Moore on them to the point that it could be such a high advance rate that you're actually hoping they suck and that your secondary stack is the stack that goes off because you're going to be chopping and changing. Not that you can control for that, but that is something I think with these first round, second round wide receivers and then the quarterbacks that are cheap is I'm like, man, you are just going to have so much overlap at those spots.
I mean, there's probably some combos that are just so bad you should never do them. I don't know what those are though.
It's not this combo. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not iterating that I think that you should take. It's particularly because with Dak, I think a lot of people are going to tack on Brandon Cooks, who I'm not that interested in. So I think there's going to be like some dead weight being carried along. But with the quarterbacks that don't, with the elite wide receivers, with the quarterbacks that don't run really, I'm totally fine playing that with. Actually, I really like the concept of having Tyreek Hill with Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson with Kyler Murray or whatever. Like I like that because so many of the Justin Jefferson teams are going to have JJ McCarthy. In fact, like that might be the JJ McCarthy drafter has got to be the Jefferson drafter 80% of the time or something, maybe so I don't, and this is how early we are in best ball is we don't, I'm just kind of spitballing. I don't know how bad or good that is. Like I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a valid question though. Is like, oh, is there going to be too many combos of this? Like, it's a very important thing to ask. I agree with that idea, but there's also, it's like okay, baseball. It's baseball season, right? So like in DFS,
sure,
it's like going, oh, everyone's going to be on the Yankees, so I'm just going to take all singles here because everyone's going to take the Yankees, and of course they're going to put Aaron Judge and Soto together. It's like, yeah, well, you kind of have to. Still, if you're still going to play the Yankees, you don't want to play the Yankees, but if you're going to play the Yankees, I think the answer, at least, or 4 of them.
I think the answer is it's similar to some of the things we've learned in doing Sims, which is like high owned plays can still be the absolute nuts, but you have to be much more thoughtful about what you're doing around them. So like, let's say, for example, the this Tua drafter, right? So he's got Tyreek, he's got A-Chain. Like obviously he was going to take Tua. So he needs to be like, this guy drafting 4 needs to be more mindful about some of the other combinations that he's making. He needs to be trying to do something else that's kind of weird in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. There's all I'm saying is like, these are the two kind of polar. You don't want that the combo of lineups that's like for some reason an aberration or like a ton of entries have this like very similar team than you definitely want to avoid that. But you also don't want to just single stack your baseball team in DFS. Like, you still want 5 or 4 Yankees. So when you take DJ Moore and CeeDee Lamb, well, you need to take Dak and Caleb. I mean, I'm not saying you need to, like, if it becomes available that this is clearly your draft strategy, you just take them and deal with it and figure it out, and then maybe make that small changes like you were just saying. But you don't go, I got Dak 30 spots past ADP sitting here. but everyone has Dak and CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
It's like,
Yes.
yeah, well, they should have them,
They
and you
should.
get the
Yes.
value,
So
and just
that
take them and figure it out the other way. Like, don't go
you
crazy.
you are making a very good point, which is that there's a reason that the field is incentivized to do that, which is that these players' scores are going to be like so linked to each other. Like that is super important.
Yeah.
I have this thing going on where a lot of these guys are I also just realized I handcuffed the Seahawks backfield, which I am a big advocate of. I actually was not paying that close of attention, but
Yeah.
I really like doing that for the Seattle backfield. If I thought Zeke was better, I would say the Cowboys is almost the perfect situation to do it, where it's like these two guys, there are all these points available. I think the Bengals backfield is good. I think the Chargers backfield with Edwards and Vidal is good. You get a lot of varying opinions on how good or bad that is. I think in the two-man backfields where there's not a third guy, like even to speak of, I think it's pretty strong.
Not all handcuffs are created equal here either. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like last year. I don't know, like with the Dolphins, maybe like where there's like two good guys. It's like, I don't know. You don't want to go like 4th round RB, 6th round RB, and it's a handcuff.
No, you don't want to do that, but like 6th round RB, 14th round
14th
RB,
round RB. Yeah,
I
that's
think
different.
is pretty strong.
You probably should. You don't want a ton of those combos, probably.
No, I'm not doing it every time I take Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker, and I'm not doing it and I'm not doing it. I don't know what's another good example. Henry and Keaton Mitchell, Pacheco and Clyde. Some of these I think are kind of fine, but the key is that the combinatorial cost cannot be that high. You can't be spending too much draft capital on one backfield.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm fine with it. I think if you could go somewhere else in a vacuum, you probably just go somewhere else, because you want that 0.1% outcome, and it's
But
kind
I
of
like
tough to do that.
so I think you're right. I just have Charbonnet like much for like I know him and
Yeah, yeah,
McLaughlin are positionally right next to each other, but I think that's a real tier break. You also see why I have so much Antonio Gibson. I've got him ranked a round and a half ahead of ADP, and he's probably going to end up on this team too.
yeah. I'm not saying this. I'm saying in general. But we're getting to this point I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned your Ayuk and Deebo Samuel draft strategy,
Yeah.
where you're taking 0 Ayuk and all the Deebo, and so like my gut would be like, oh, I would never do that, obviously, because I'm not a no ball bro, and I want to diversify my portfolio, and that seems like a perfect spot to do it. But I think like the portfolio idea, if you wanted to do your no ball take there, much more useful where we're at here in the later rounds.
Yeah, that was why I took Shaheed instead of Wicks. I had Wicks ranked there. I'm fine with that ranking. I don't want to adjust it. I got Wicks 30 or 24 picks later than where I had him ranked. And so it's like it's one of those things of like knowing your rankings, but you got to know the room too. But I think you're right. Where we're about to be in this draft is where the ball knowing starts. I also did just realize a problem with taking our boy Lamar. My favorite back stack right now is Bo Nix and one of his receivers, Troy Franklin or Marvin Mims, but they share a bye week. So I am additionally happy that we took Rashid Shaheed because it means that we can take Derek Carr.
Okay. Back to the portfolio thing.
Yes.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because I think a lot of bros go like, for these late scroll the F down. Last year was a great year for it, right? With Kyron, was it Puka, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there was anybody else, but the reason you diversify, or one of the reasons you diversify down here too, is clearly you'd love to have 80% Kyron Williams last year. Like you probably would have had a huge, advance rate, done well in the playoffs. But even no ball bros can't like predict like that. It's just too hard. So
Right.
if you identify, let's say 10 or 12 scroll the F down candidates
Yeah.
and then diversify in your portfolio, you're at least going to get 3.3% Chiron or something. Where
Yeah.
otherwise you might get zero because you might have picked,
Damn. I
I don't
kind of
know.
wanted to make this a Levis Chig backdoor team, and then Levis just goes way ahead of ADP there.
I just saw a lot of chatter on Chig on Twitter. What happened with him?
Yeah,
Nothing.
Liam was arguing about it. We are going to take Braylon Allen here and be done at running back. And with our final 3 picks, we are going to figure out quarterback and tight end. There are a couple different ways to go. I mean, this could be a Geno team. This could be a Fields team. This could be a Carr team. We could do Daniel Jones and Jalen Hyatt or something. So I wanted to leave that optionality open and just be done at running back, which I think we are now.
So the portfolio idea here that I'm laying kind of goes hand in hand with this too, where now you kind of need a quarterback. I think the best what's the opposite of no ball? Simbro. If there's not really Simbros in basketball yet.
Yeah.
But the Simbro guy like me who's not going to know ball, I think the best strategy is to get, what round did you just pick? 15 is that?
15.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
You want to be done by 15 and then scroll the F down in the bottom 3.
I mean, I think that's good. We did just do some scrolling there. I mean, we took Braylon Allen ahead of ADP. We took Jermaine Burton way ahead of ADP. We took Dowdle way ahead of ADP. So we are scrolling. We are clicking. We have done some scrolling. I'm keeping my range balanced right now. The room doesn't know. The room doesn't know what to do with me. They don't know if I'm a scroller or a simmer or what I'm doing. That Noah Fant going right there was what I was concerned about. I really wanted to lock up Noah Fant with this.
You're like the Rock at the poker table who's like drinking whiskey, thinking everyone thinks he's gonna go crazy. It's like, oh, I'm drinking a whiskey. That way they won't tell I'm a total nit. Meanwhile, everyone at the draft room is like, Davis is a nit. He's not going off the board.
You can't. Here's the deal. You can't call me a nit if I've got over 35% of like 5 different guys. I don't accept this criticism.
I don't know if that means what you think it means. I mean, if you got over 35%, but you're not scrolling down and taking people, it's kind of still,
you could not do that though. You can't get 35% of these players without scrolling or reaching.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, if you're getting your guys, then your ADP is gonna.
Like if I have 35% Xavier Worthy, I'm not just drafting in a spot where Xavier Worthy is all, the room isn't just giving that to me. I'm doing that on purpose.
Yes, fair enough. 35%. I don't know. We'll see the numbers when they're done. We'll see the numbers and how much different you are year over year.
Here we can look right now.
No, because I can't get the ADP info unless they do the data dump.
Oh, I was gonna say we could look. Wait, I lost the draft. How do I get? Oh, there we go. I was gonna say we could go look at my exposures and you could see. Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, but that still doesn't tell you.
Yeah, we got to figure out quarterback and tight end. So we could take Geno, who I'm not that confident is going to be starting in week 17. We are kind of locked out of my preferred quarterback 2 option, Drake May, because they share the bye. Probably going to take Chig here at tight end. He's kind of my favorite secondary tight end right now. Corey M asking, would you rather win BBM or be the least nitty player on Underdog? I would rather win. I would rather win on BBM than be the least. I will never go far enough away from my like Draft Street NBA DFS cash game roots to be the least nitty player on Underdog. It's an impossibility.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, portfolio thing. So
yes.
the idea of like scrolling the F down is, I'm trying to think of someone last year who was a scroll the F down who just bombed. Maybe like Kendry Miller or something, the guy in the Saints.
Yeah, people would have had big bags of him.
I don't know if he was a scroll the F down candidate though.
Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like Kyron Williams, like someone who would have been drafted like 25-40% of the time.
I mean, lots of guys like they're
and they didn't do anything.
Jalen Tolbert.
All right, Jalen Tolbert. There you go. The thing is, if you don't like pick a group of guys this late and then diversify, then you might have 30% Jalen
Malik
Tolbert.
Davis. There we go.
Malik Davis.
Davis. That's
Yeah.
a great answer.
Any example will work for this. The point I'm trying to drive home here is if you don't like, because people think like, oh, I just need to identify Kyren Williams and then I win all the money.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but like you're probably not going to, right? So it's much more reasonable strategy to identify 10 Malik Davis, Corey Davis, Kyren Williams.
Corey Davis is funny because people were drafting him and then he retired. I mean, that is a good bit. That is a very good bit.
Yeah, well, guy, listen, probably someone's going to retire before the season starts now. I mean, it's possible.
Darren Waller already did it. Darren Waller was getting drafted.
Sure, there you go. But like, you know, it's like there's Andrew Luck and shit, right? Like it happens. So all this is just more of an argument for what I'm saying here is get a pool of these scroll the F down guys and then you know, randomly or whatever you need to do, select from them all instead of trying to go, oh, I heard Pat Kareen say that, you know, this guy's a good late round pick. And so he's going to be my Kyren Williams this year, and I'm going to get 45% of them.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. I think you don't want to balance your exposures too much on the round 18 guys, because isn't what you're saying the reverse, which is that you're naturally going to have very diversified rosters around your round 18 picks just based on where you're drafting in the 12 slots. So if you have 40% of scroll the F down guy, you're naturally going to have very different rosters around them.
Well, that's kind of irrelevant for the point I'm trying to make. I'm not.
Maybe I'm not understanding what you're driving at.
Yeah. The idea is fairly, simple, I think, where you don't want to put all your eggs in a basket that has super high variance. So when you're fading Debo, when you're fading Ayuk in favor of Debo Samuel,
that's very high variance.
Well, that's not. If they're both going to play, they're both going to probably be
sure. They're both going to contribute points.
Yeah, but when you're scrolling down for guys who are drafted less than 50% of the time, they might not see the fucking field.
But I think you are actually unwittingly making an argument for going all in on those guys because they have the greatest ability to impact your win rate and to impact your expected value. Like someone will figure this out eventually. It's not going to be me, but someone will have it solved. Like you kind of like a Kelly type thing where you're inputting their range of outcomes. Like this percentage of the time he gets a 0, this percentage of the time he becomes the guy you need to win or whatever.
Yeah.
The lifetimes where you get one Kyren Williams season where you drafted him 50% of the time more than pays for 100 lifetimes of Malik Davis's where he gets you 0.
Sure. Yeah. And you could do it all mathematically. Why don't you pick your guy? And then I'll continue. The point though is that you have no clue who those guys are. You think you do, but you don't. So like if you think,
but you do know to some degree. I mean, you've got more knowledge than the average person you're drafting against. If you're really in the weeds, Sean Tucker is a great
That's
name.
who I was thinking of actually.
Yeah, Sean Tucker is the best version of this. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't, right? Because Sean Tucker. There's an example. Because Kendry Miller. Because Malik Davis.
No, I agree with the point you're making.
And it's not just you; it's everyone. No one can know this.
No one. No, sure. It is unknowable.
Which is why they're only getting picked 20, 30, 40% of the time. Otherwise, they'd be getting picked 100% of the time.
But is your argument that you win Best Ball Mania 5 at such a low clip that you just want to be focusing on advance rate? Is that kind of what you're driving at? Or you're just saying because it's unknowable?
Yeah, because it's unknowable. That's what I'm saying. because it's unknowable, you'd rather have 3.3% of Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua than 90% Sean Tucker or 50% Sean Tucker and 50% Malik Davis. Because those are your guys.
Yeah.
And yes, but you're right. In some worlds, you have 50% Kyron Williams and 50% Puka Nacua. In some universes, that does occur, but that's just pure randomness.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, I also disagree. It's like pure randomness. It's less. It's less than that. This is not a toy game. It's not even. Like poker, like where. Well, actually, no. It is more like poker. It's actually much more like poker, where you can kind of handicap. You can kind of handicap the odds of someone being the guy you need. Better than true. Like if I gave you a list of 50 running backs who go after who are after running back 60, and I got to assign the probabilities that they were this year's Kyron Williams, and you did a random probability. It was all completely random. I would bet if we did that for 5 seasons, my ability to prognosticate which one has upside would be better than random probability.
Which round? Which round did you say?
Let's say after running back 60. So running back 60 to running back 100 in ADP.
Yeah, like we're talking around 16, 17,
Yeah,
18.
that's right about right. Running back 55. Maybe.
Okay, yeah, around 16, 17, 18, I would say no. I bet you can't count. This is scroll the F down candidates only we're talking about here.
Yes, yeah.
So they would have to be like drafted like 40% or less. And I think if you go and look at the last 5 years, or we don't have 5 years, I don't think, but of whatever.
We have 4 years of BBM
of
data.
Candidates of players who were drafted in rounds 16, 17, 18 between like 5% and 40%. It's probably purely random.
Purely
now you
random.
Could say, yeah, but that's everyone drafted, and I'm better than everybody.
No. I just think it's wrong to say it's purely random, even in the results. I think it's predictable to some degree.
Oh, okay. We're okay. I will say it's the vast majority of it is randomness.
I do think I still fundamentally disagree. I would have to think about it. I would have to think about it more. What I would say is, even if it were fundamentally random and it was just sometimes Braylon Allen is the guy you need. Sometimes he literally does not play a down. I wonder if even playing GTO, you'd still want to concentrate on 5 guys just to set yourself up with better lottery tickets in the eventuality that they do hit. That your random lottery ticket is going to be better than a bunch of other people's random lottery ticket because you have a 10% super boost in late running back X.
5 seems fine to me. Like you might not even be able to find 10. 10 like realistic scroll the F down candidates. Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know what I think
that's probably
is.
I mean, in July, yes, that's the other thing is the information edge is the information edge is going to be so much higher in August.
Well, let's see. Chat. We're getting chat riled up here over this.
Shady says, you might have to explain this to me. This is good Endgame Syndicate content. You explaining mathematical concepts to me. Exposure can never impact expected value if all the choices have the same EV.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me that seems like he's agreeing with me. But maybe he's not. I'm misunderstanding him.
Well, I think what he's saying is that if it's random, that all of these scroll the up down guys have the same EV, that it doesn't matter which one of them you take.
Sure. But I'm not arguing that it's increasing your EV. I'm arguing
right. You're arguing that's
mostly
just the
random
way to play.
You might as well lower your risk. I mean, I suppose maybe the risk would be exactly the same, but if you have no shares of any of the guys, then you have no chance of getting lucky. when it's all just basically luck at this point in the draft.
Yeah, I just disagree. I think that is wrong, and I think that there is a small but real edge in evaluating players that are being drafted in the 15, 16, 17, 18 rounds, including knowledge that the most projectable positions at that stage in the draft are quarterback and tight end, and that getting your running back and wide receivers before that point is part of that perceptible edge.
Yeah, but you're focusing. I'm saying it's mostly random, and most of your edge is not, and most of your your skill that you're giving yourself.
Yeah,
there is some, like, you got to identify the 5 to 10 guys or whatever. Yeah, there is some skill in there, but like it's mostly random to where it doesn't. I don't think it matters. So you might as well just.
Well, are you including stuff like injuries as random?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So that, I think, would be an argument in my favor of just wanting to have big exposures for the randomness, even if I am conceding it's all random, because particularly a running back, like let's say so I've got these huge Braylon Allen bags, and he won't be drafted. I mean, he's going to be drafted a lot, but he's like close to a scroll the F down guy. Let's just call him. Let's just say he is. Like in the seasons where Breece Hall tears his ACL or rolls his ankle or whatever, my teams are going to have much greater expected value because I've got these big Braylon Allen bags. And I'm good aligning with that. So even if you include that under the umbrella of randomness, it's more about like you make the bet, and instead of just making it on one team, you make it on 40 teams and just being like, I'm good with that. I'm good with that bet. I mean, I guess it's basically like playing blackjack to me. Like that is like a similar decision as blackjack. Like in the hands where the dealer gets 18, I win this hand type thing.
Yeah. I think consigliere, I think you and I might be talking past each other here a bit. Again, I'm not saying that this impacts EV or one guy is better than the other or something. Like if you could like map out Braylon Edwards and all these guys and go, this guy is slightly better than this guy is slightly. We're talking, first of all, these guys might never see the field, and also I think we're talking. I wonder how much, like, how drafted Braylon Edwards is. I bet it's not scroll the F down territory.
No, it's not.
So it doesn't.
The better example.
We're
talking. The better example is Estime. So Estime right now is for sure, he's the running back 68. He's for sure getting drafted on less than 40% of drafts.
Yeah, I bet a lot of these guys no one even knows, like most fans don't even know who they are. Guys who are getting drafted 20% of the time. And
so I think there's a real skill-based. By the way, you just said Braylon Edwards, which is so funny. I mean, you just really,
what is this, like the Michigan wide receiver, right?
Yeah, the Jets guy. You really dated yourself on.
Oh yeah,
on that one.
I mean, someone just typed Klay Thompson's going to the Mavs. I'm like, oh my god! As soon as Steph Curry retires, it's like it's over for me. It's like, because he's like second generation, or third since I started watching sports. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. So anyway, this is an example I'm using to illustrate why it's not random. That Estime's not.
Again, really I'm not saying it's totally random.
Well, I'm trying to say, really what I'm doing is I'm doing what was it, Utica, who said knowing ball is the projection? Was that him?
It's the Sims.
Yeah. Knowing ball is the Sims. So like, this is actually a spot where knowing ball is going to be a huge edge that I think you should be staking a position on this, because if you were doing projections for the Broncos backfield, there's like a real reason why you would be giving him a larger share of the work that is ball and coach comment and beat writer comment related. He should be getting drafted much higher. He should be getting drafted kind of where like Bucky Irving is going. Bucky Irving probably gets drafted 95% of the time or something.
Braylon Edwards is 64% according to ETR. So he's barely a scroll the F down candidate.
What do they have for Estime?
46.
Yeah.
And then so who's the other guy you just said? Bucky Irving, right?
Bucky Irving is going to be like 80.
He's going to be high, 99%. Yeah. We're talking like I'll just go to to the.
But there's a big difference between 99% and would you say 64% for
Like
SMA?
Josh Reynolds, he's a scroll the F down, 12%.
Yeah, my ball knowing would say no thanks. I want
Your
zero
boy
in
Greg
that.
Dulcich,
Yeah, I do take some Dulcich.
Khalif Raymond, Michael Meyer.
Oh, Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond, if you pretend to know ball on Twitter.com, 100%.
Do you know who Isaac Guerrero is?
Isaac Guerrero, he was Jawar Jordan's backup at Louisville. He was like set every record at the combine.
What team is
for
he on?
Spark score, the 49ers.
Wow, good job. I wouldn't have
But
gotten that.
but Cody Schrader led the SEC in rushing last year. They signed him as a priority free agent. I think he's going to make the team over Guerrero.
How about Rasheen Ali?
He went to the University of Marshall. He is the third running back right now for the Ravens.
Oh wow. I mean, I don't know how people aren't just immediately signing up for your Patreon right now.
He's good. He's kind of good, by the way. That's a really super fucking sneaky.
My guy, Jonathan Mingo, 4% owned.
Mingo getting drafted is like that's the what's the functional difference between Jonathan Mingo and Quentin Johnston? There isn't really one, and it's like if Bryce Young ends up being good this year, like he does end up returning value of like what a number one pick does. Mingo could, not that I'm doing it because I'm not, but Mingo could be like a legendary scroll the F down guy, like legendary.
I want to keep testing your knowledge.
You will not find a guy I don't know.
Okay, I don't know if I can even pronounce this. Andre, can you guess who?
Yoshibas. He was a heptathlete in college. He's old. He plays for the Bengals. He was he was in the Olympic trials for heptathlon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey.
Princeton, I think. Do you know about his brother? Do you know who his brother plays for? He's for the Washington football team. He went to Nebraska as a quarterback and then transferred to Rice and switched to wide receiver in COVID spring.
So this guy's name's so cool, so you gotta know who he is. Jamari Thrash. I actually don't know. You got me. I don't know what team he's on. He was a wide receiver for Louisville last year. I think he's Cowing went to Arizona. He's on the 49. I don't know who Thrash is on. You got me. Cleveland. That I'll give you a pass because you knew quite a bit about him. Let's see here.
Not drafting.
This one you'll never get. 0% drafted. Laviska Shenault.
I think he's still technically a Panther.
I was just kidding, but actually he's on Seattle.
Interesting. George Halani, he went to Boise State. He split a backfield with Ashton Jeanty, who, by the way, Ashton Jeanty, if he gets drafted in the first round next year, is going to be a first-round pick in
I know a ton of these guys, not the teams they are on, I guess, if they've been changing, just because they're all like showdown guys that you have to take to not dupe. All these names like Tanner Hudson, Trent Irwin, Trent Sherfield, Logan.
I mean, Tanner Hudson was playable in Maine for a little while last year. He led the NFL in targets.
He was in the NFL last year.
I know. I'm saying in Maine NFL DFS slates. He
was gotcha. I thought you were talking about like Maine University or something.
Yeah, no. He led all tight ends in targets per route run for like a month.
People love those fucking trivia games, by the way. I haven't known
good at them.
Even that close. I think even at my peak, you're far beyond my knowing of the players. But during Madden, you had to know, like, if you want to play like really high level, you have to know like all the backups and stuff because you got to swap them out.
I mean, this could be a good clip for us to put on social media. Do you know about Sion Baki? This is, you want to talk about the literal ultimate scroll the F down guy. He played safety at Utah, and they had so many injuries on offense this last season. They were like, can we just try you out? Can we see if you can play running back? And he scored 5 touchdowns on like, I think 90 touches, maybe not even, maybe it's a little bit more than that, but he played like hybrid running back, wide receiver. And he tried out at the combine as he did the safety drills and he did the running back drills. And Detroit drafted him, and he's like the most Dan Campbell ass player of all time. He's like, I'll do anything, coach. I will bite some ankles. I'll play special teams. I'll do kicks. I'll do whatever. And I think there's a very strong chance he makes the team because he'll do whatever. He'll play safety. He'll do kick, like he'll be a core 4 special teamer. And he's so athletic that I wonder if there are scenarios where he ends up being like a 10 touch per game guy at the very end of the season. And I bet on Underdog, he's like, I'd be shocked if it was above 1% on total drafts.
And what round did he take? Was he like 7th?
No, I think he was a 4th round pick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I can look it up, but yeah, but people thought he was getting drafted. Yeah, he was a 4th round pick. People thought he was getting drafted as a safety because he was a pretty good safety. But through all the rookie stuff, all the mini camps, he's been with the running backs.
Interesting. So I don't know. We went an hour here. I wanted to talk about what Chad or you, if anyone has ideas for best ball content for us. I know we're gonna do eventually. Nerdy's gonna get around to like a game theory for the like the same day. More, it works much better for like same day and showdown type of contests because they're less complicated than BBM
for sure.
But like other than that, like we don't. And I was talking about earlier, showing like how I would go about making ADP, but we're not going to do ADP rankings unless we get somebody else on. But I don't know what else best ball wise, because I think Shady mentioned there in chat. He goes because I said there's no sims yet for best ball. I know some people are doing sims in the background and stuff, but it's mainly for research.
Yeah.
I mean, do people even want sims for best ball? Like that seems like kind of.
I think it would be very.
Like that.
I think it would be. I don't think they would care. I can ask. I'm an official Underdog partner now. I can ask. I'll ask. I'll ask my handler what they think about that. Here's the deal. No one commented on my new background. I reworked all my shelves and everything. Yesterday, I was like, I gotta now that I'm going to be on camera like all the time. I gotta have a much nicer background.
Is it no one cares. Count Chocula cereal? What the hell is that on the left?
This is Tyler Hierro. These are the Hieros.
Oh.
I bought these after with the Top Shot proceeds. Tyler Hierro's Fruit Hoops.
Instead of getting his jersey?
No, my wife got me his jersey for Valentine's Day. Because I was like, honey,
so what did you do?
He's a hero to us.
Did you just add more books?
Yeah. I added more books and I moved Han Solo over my right shoulder.
Yeah, you've had him there before.
I put some vinyl records up in there just to get rid of some of the negative space.
What's the vinyl records? What do you got?
I've got
Nirvana
live from Madrid and Mac Miller watching movies with the sound off, and I've got Woody Guthrie. Of course, Woody Guthrie. You'd hate Woody Guthrie.
No, sure. I love Bob Dylan. So
yeah, and a rap record, Childish Gambino, right there. I just wanted to look more professional. I just want to be like Pete.
I mean, it's very academic with all these books, Davis.
But we got some poker books in here. I got Sklansky. I'm gonna do a good bit. I'm gonna do
Sklansky, over your left shoulder.
I'm gonna do a good bit on the Swolecast at some point when I explain to David Sklansky dollars, and I'm just gonna pull the theory of poker out and read to him. So I'm waiting for that. I'm hoping that's gonna be a good bit.
All right. Well, I put the Endgame Syndicate in the link in chat. Davis's Patreons in chat. I'm gonna put them in the. I forgot to put them in the what's it called? Description.
The show description.
Show notes. I'll do that as soon as we finish up here. If anyone's watching this on my personal YouTube or Twitch, appreciate it if you come over to the Endgame YouTube. And
we should also tell people this is going to be a regular thing.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna be officially basically the personality hire for endgamesyndicate.com. So I'll be on the roundtables. We'll be doing some weekly best ball shows. So you will be getting more of me with guys who are very serious about math.
I was gonna, because I got to give you a name for the Discord. What do you want your role to be? I was thinking Bestball Bro, but do you want something else?
I mean, Bestball Bro is fine, but we could definitely do something. We could
Okay,
do something
we'll think
funnier.
of
Yeah.
the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Make sure you guys check out endgamesyndicate.com. If you guys have any thoughts, I mean, we would be very open to feedback on like what type of shows, what type of content, like what would be enjoyable. You know, I'm going to kind of serve as the everyman here with Nerdy and Brian and all these guys. And yeah, so if you guys leave comments, hang out in the Discord, and we'll be back next week.